Good evening, my name's Karen Tonkin, and this is an induction series of slides because it's our first unit, first week, and we are doing CHCCCS019. And at the moment, we've got some fantastic new learners. So, Acknowledgement of Country in the spirit of reconciliation, Hayter Institute of Education acknowledges the traditional custodians of country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation and the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live and study. We express our gratitude for the sharing of this land, our sorrow for the personal, spiritual and cultural costs of that sharing, and hope that we may move forward together in harmony and in the spirit of healing. We pay our respect to all First Nation people and acknowledge elders past, present and emerging. So welcome everybody who is now joining as a learner for Hayter Institute. And I'm going just to take you through the very first slides. Housekeeping. This will be discussed again when we kick off tonight. So I won't go through it all because it'll be repetition, but we do housekeeping at the start of every class. The philosophy of the course is that it's self-directed learning. It's adult learning principles. So we're looking for internal motivations where you can direct yourself. And we do bring our life experiences into how we can best become support workers into the classes when appropriate. We manage different viewpoints in the class professionally. We're flexible and supportive and always a safe learning environment for all learners. There's expectations of learners, teachers, trainers as well, and that is professional conduct. Respect at all times. Self-disclosure during classroom discussions, sorry, someone's just coming in, is not encouraged. Tips for studying and the success that you can have is consider intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic comes from internal, your own self-drive, your own initiative, and then external can come from other people, your cheerleaders. It can also come from rewards that you set yourself some goals and then give yourself something to actually reward yourself. So do consider that when we are studying, it is good to actually have both motivations going at once. Tips for studying, again, whether it's a fixed versus growth mindset. What we're looking to do is encourage that you have a growth mindset, which means encouraging emotional flexibility, encouraging variables. This is what you're going to get in the industry. You'll have a variation of clients. You'll have different services will have different procedures and policies. So what we're doing is asking you to open up your mind, open up your heart, open yourself up to this learning experience so that you have some flexibility there to change your mind and grow with your class, with your learning, and yeah, try and stay a little flexible. So tell me a bit about you and your study, but at the moment we've just got only one of the new learners who've joined us. So we'll get to that and we will get to meet you. We will get to know what your drive is, why you're doing your study and how we can support that. Feelings, again, it's completely normal to feel excited, overwhelmed, ambitious, anxious, and overthink things. That's why that's called learning and not knowing. Do just remember that when you start something, you're never as good as when you've actually invested time practicing it. As you know, we all started writing and we were very scribbly and very messy, and it takes time and repetition to be confident and competent. It will come. So if you're feeling a little wobbly at the start, there's a lot to learn, a lot to actually process that's new, and it will come. It will become a smooth ride real soon. Assessments, there's a variety of methods, attendance in class, discussions, activities, group, there's individual work, there's role play work, there's presentation, quizzes. This will all be explained one unit at a time. And I do discuss this at the beginning of every class. So again, we have an opportunity to unpack this together and know what's expected in each unit at the beginning of the unit. well, all learners are expected to actually participate in all of those activities. They're not, they are compulsory, they're not optional, and they do come in each assessment section. Successful outcomes of competence or not yet competent can impact your commencement of workplace. So what we're wanting to do is really stay on task, work on the assessments and work on completion and competency so that you are then ready. The workplace generally happens around the 50 to 60% competent mark. When you've got that amount of assessments done, you're generally ready to hit the workplace if you're not in there already. So assessments, we're looking at attendance. If you ever do need some extensions, please let us know. Results, the turnaround's generally about 48 hours. Referencing and plagiarism, you'll find in your student handbook. Again, we can't have anything directly copied. It generally is in your own words, or if you are asked to reference, you'll basically be asked to give us the information on how you've referenced it. Again, there'll be information in your handbook explaining how to do that, but a reference must be listed. Please copy and save your work as you go. And the responsibility for time management does land on the learner, although we will encourage you in class to stay on time with us. Accelerate is where you do your submission work. We have rolling enrolments, which means that every single time that we start a new unit, we will have some fantastic new classmates come and join us. Connecting with your trainer, please make an appointment with your trainer through Calendly if it is regarding an assessment. So we can assist you. Everyone does have one appointment a fortnight to work through assessment material. If you're having any issues regarding the platform or any IT issues or anything that needs general assessment, one question here or there, you want to just reach out to LSO. Our learning support team is there for you. Again, we're here to provide professional, supportive, safe learning environment. We can't change the context or the work at times. It can actually be quite triggering. We are here for you. We've got some support at the beginning of every slide that you can reach out to if you do find things triggering. Please ensure that you reach out for those supports if you do feel overwhelmed. Refer to your learner handbook as well. There's additional information about support. We do touch on different types of self-care in different units, but I do encourage you to please start preparing your self-care for how you're going to top up your own tank. There's a lot of demands that come with working and studying if you're doing both. Just life and study can actually be challenging. Consider all the different areas of your life holistically for self-care. And what we've got is any questions, do let us know. At the end of the session is where I'm there for you to answer any questions. So I'll stop sharing now, come back and stop recording. Good evening, my name's Karen Tonkin and I'm a trainer and assessor for Haiti Institute of Education, and tonight we are looking at our unit CHCCCS019 and we'll be training in how to recognise and then respond to crisis situations. This is week 1 of 3. So what we're going to do right now is I am going to go to our acknowledgement of country, and for anyone that's new tonight, we as a community and a class actually go off mute so everybody could speak, and we do end up speaking over each other, but that's okay. We deliver this as a class message, so I'll just give you a moment to unmute yourself. Please join in if you would like to come along with me and do the reconciliation. In the spirit of reconciliation, Haida Institute of Education
acknowledge the
traditional
custodians of
custodians
country of Australia and their connection to land, sea, and community.
Recognize Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander people as the first inhabitants of this nation, the traditional custodians of the land on which we work, live, and study. We express our gratitude for the caring,
we have sorrow for the personal, spiritual, cultural costs that sharing in hope that we may move forward together in harmony in the spirit of healing.
We
We pay our respect to all First Nations peoples and acknowledge elders, past, present, and emerging.
Thank you, everyone, and I'll get you to head back onto your mics, and I'll let another couple of people in. I know that's messy and we're all over each other, but gee whiz, that feels good to deliver that beautiful message together as a community.
Next time I can do like a timing thing, like a.
Thanks, Daniel. Now you go on mute, buddy. All right, we've got some newbies, people. Our community is actually growing in our class. In this unit, we have Katie, Donald, James, Rani, Deborah, and Kelly, starting with Hader. Welcome aboard, everybody. Hang on a sec. We've got Cass. Yes, Cass?
I'm sorry, Renee doesn't have the link in her portal to come in.
Oh, okay. Kate, do you know how you could share that with Renee at all?
Go to the calendar. Go to the calendar, and the calendar will come up. If she scrolls down Wednesday night at 6, there should be a link.
All right. So what does she go into?
The little calendar up the top near the login bit.
And I'll look on mine. Sorry.
That's okay. We can't start without one of the gang.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm just looking on mine so I can explain it to her. Where's the login part?
It's on the right-hand side up the top. It's a little calendar symbol.
No, I don't have that. Oh, yeah, sorry. Yeah.
That's okay. This is good to know for anyone else who's stuck. So have a listen.
I got told this. I'm just doing my best to remember.
All right. Is there a link in there?
Yeah, if you click on the calendar, then you click on the weekly calendar, and it'll be the week, and you go to Wednesday the 7th, scroll down to 6 o'clock. It should have a little link in there for her to
go. I did that once. I did that once on the calendar.
Yeah.
Great job, guys.
Right. I'll tell her how to do it.
Okay, cool.
Well done, guys. Love the teamwork.
Hey.
I can't leave someone out. So welcome, everybody. Welcome to the group. And tonight, our class generally has one break for 15 minutes around about 7:15. So we'll be into the course by 6:15 after this introduction. So that gives us a solid hour. Then we have a 15-minute break, come back at 7:30. We do another solid hour till 8:30. And then after 8:30 till 9 is a time that you are welcome to stay back. So during the class, if you have one-on-one assistance or questions regarding another unit, or particularly this unit that you can wait for, please do wait for the end, because then we can keep up the traction of the class. So make a note, I'm available for you at the end. If there's something that needs clarifying for you personally, then I'm available. If you're going to smoke or vape, please just turn off your screen. That would be amazing. Otherwise, please turn on your camera, because we love to see your face. Class,
can you see my camera?
Pardon?
Can you see me? I can't.
Hang on, I'll can't be 2 seconds. I can't see while I'm sharing the screen, but I'll be back in a sec. Class participation, down the bottom, there is a heart and a reaction, and that's where you can click on, and it will give you an ability to put your hand up. And then that's when we're contributing, and I'll get everybody to give their comments. So please make sure you can have a look now for your little symbols and hands. Some people put love hearts if they're enjoying what we're talking about. Trigger warning. Tonight is about crisis situations. So I just want to give you the invitation that if you wish to leave the class and watch this on a recording at a different time of day, if you are feeling quite stressed this evening, that's probably an ideal thing to consider doing, mainly because things are tougher at night, everything from a headache to a toothache. We have less distractions. So psychological aches, anxiety and depression are more challenging in the evening. So this is a tough course. You may decide to not attend class while you're studying trauma-related crisis, because we do, just heads up, suicide is discussed because it is a crisis situation. So you may want to watch this in the earlier parts of the day. And maybe when you've got support, maybe you're actually watching this at home, again on record, but without support. You may actually want to prepare in advance. So trigger warning, if you're going to continue, please have support ready if you think you might need it. Microphones stay on mute, but I will then say, let's go unmute and then we all share. Respectful relationships. We are professionals and we're professionals in the making as far as community support workers. So we're looking for respect at all times. So our chat box is off because we're not wanting to type while someone is talking. So that respectful relationship is respecting what someone contributes to the class, even if it's not quite gelling with you. We're going to acknowledge their contribution. So we don't debate. And basically be kind to yourself. Again, if you're in this session tonight and you're feeling yourself heightened, be kind to yourself. You may need to exit, take some time out, come back in, or maybe just continue watching this when it is on record. So knowing it's got the trigger warnings, we do have some support available for you every week. This slide is up. So please consider if you are needing one of these potentially at any time, even for Lifeline, you can get on and discuss study stress. Take down some of the notes so you've got it ready. Now, this is fun. There's something new that's happening and we're going to do this as a group right now, and I'll come back to you and stop sharing once I've explained it. Hayder Institute would like from this point forward that you choose and select an image that you'd like to have as your background for Zoom. And we're going to do it as a class right now. And what they're going to do is ask you to have it in your background for class and in your background when you have role plays assessed, or if you do join a Zoom with an assessor or a trainer. And the reason being is that we are now required to see what you would visually have and represent as your professional practice, so that we're looking for a clean office environment, obviously, for most situations. So I'm going to stop sharing and come back to the group. Okay, sorry. Now, Rani, was it you that was asking if I can see you?
Yes.
I can't see you.
Okay, well, my video's on, so I don't know what's going on here.
Sometimes at the top of your laptop, you've got a little slide across the camera. See if that's an issue and you slide it back.
No, that's not the issue. No.
So everyone, your first exercise tonight is going to be to decide what background are you going to now have for yourself. Instead of just blurring the background, Hayder wants you to choose a background and start showing us what you think a professional setting would be. Cass, you look really enthused.
Because I have no idea how to do it, Karen.
That's okay. So what we're going to do is when you come down to video, down the bottom section, guys, and you click the little up arrow, you can click choose virtual background. Now you can then press plus, and you can then add an image. And that will be an image that you have in your photos.
Okay, Karen, I'm going to be really unprofessional because I'm on my Chromebook and I don't have that setting.
You don't?
No, not on this laptop.
Yeah.
I don't.
So you get my bird and my house.
That's okay. Alana, you don't have it.
I don't have that too. Karen, where is that?
So what we're going to do is I'm going to give it to you as a task, which they've asked me to give to you to do it for homework. Oh, there you go, Daniel. Okay, Daniel. They want a professional setting. Daniel's a rocket.
This is the one.
Daniel's an astronaut. Well done.
So what you've got to do is have an office setting if possible, please, Daniel. So your homework will be, if you can, do some research on how you can adjust and see what you can come up with for next week. Yeah? So I'll keep going through the slides. I just had to give it to you this week and impress you, Cass.
I'm so glad this is near the end for me because that's out of my scope.
Background.
Okay, so we always ask for here and now. And what we're doing is we're trying to hook in and be in the present moment. So we're nearly hitting the 6:15 mark. I've only got to have your attention for an hour and then you'll get a break, everybody. So here we go. This week, we've got class 1, week 1. What we're going to do is you have a task 1 to do in this unit. My advice would be to get it done in this week. So this evening, we will cover quite a few of the questions. And if we do cover the questions, I've actually written what number the questions are. So get your pen handy because I can actually help you with the quiz answers. We're going to answer them as a group, but we can get you there tonight part way. The other thing that I've changed is this has 3 role plays. I do think it's very stressful to leave all 3 for the last session. So I've divided them up. We're going to actually look at doing your task 2 tonight, which there is a role play with Denise. When we get to it, I've got some good strategies to make it really easy to get through. Now, you've got backup to do any of the actual role plays that are in your course. Not all these are your course because they're also the other ones that I'm running for another course. But this is what I'm running and I've put it into the chat. So the timetable's there, as is this link. If you recognize any in the chat that are yours, you have the opportunity to come along and do them as a class. So this is what we're doing. We're kicking off right on time. This is session 1 tonight. What we'll be learning and discussing is what types of crisis they are. We're going to also learn how to recognize them, respond to them, what type of communication we will be using in a crisis. We're going to just look at some safety issues. And then what would we do if we wanted to address those immediate safety issues? So in a nutshell, that's what we're going to learn tonight. Just to help everybody, I have now gone and put session 2 and 3 at the beginning of our first session so that you can actually wrap your mind right around the entire unit. So this is session 2, which is next Wednesday. We're just going to go a bit heavier into actually the processes of dealing with that crisis. And then we'll also look at what would we be doing for emergency assistances and the legalities around crisis issues and responding. So that will be week 2. It gets just a bit deeper in. The overview of session 3, let me put that in there for you people. So that will be in 2 weeks' time. We're going to then discuss the empowerment for people that are in crisis, how we can assist them there. We will also be looking at the barriers that we might have to offering the support they need. How are we going to plan for that support? How are we going to refer? And how are we going to minimise the risks in the future? So that is the 3 weeks in a nutshell. Now we're going to kick off ours with types of crisis. So what I've got, and I'm going to come back to the group. First of all, it's great to know what types of crises are, but I want to know what your definition of a crisis is, and then we'll look at examples of the type. And then, so I'm going to stop sharing. So what I want to do is ask anyone who wants to put their hand up. Daniel, good job. What's a crisis actually mean to you? Not what does it look like, but what does the word crisis actually mean to you as a definition, Daniel?
Firstly, Karen, so just Renee, she just you might have to send her another link. I've tried helping her with everything and she can't find it.
Yeah,
so
I only have
send her another link or
I only have a host link.
okay.
Yeah.
Tell her to contact LSO. Send them a quick email saying she can't get in. They'll email her back.
Yeah. I don't know how to do that, but yeah, she's
Okay, well, I can
trying to log
No,
on.
no, no, Karen.
Yeah. Thing is, she taught me this stuff. She taught me how to do all this. Now she's having trouble. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. So start with that question again, Karen. Sorry.
What's a crisis? What's the definition of a crisis to you with your understanding today of a crisis?
Well, definition of a crisis is to me, I mean, if someone is approaching me, or if I'm in the company of someone, crisis usually is body language. You know, from sweating to.
No,
Is that where we're going, or
not the signs of, the definition of.
definition of crisis? Well,
Yeah.
being in a very bad situation.
So great, bad situation. Alana, build on that. Good job.
In a very overwhelming situation.
So it's a bad situation that's overwhelming.
And it's also sometimes confronting, traumatizing.
Yep.
And then in a situation that as well, you got that confusion. Like, for example, something happened. Let's say there's a war and the bullets are already there. So it's situation that a panicking, in a situation that's helpless as well. It's confusion. And then also, I think it's in a very vulnerable situation.
Fabulous. Thank you for that good description. So it's a vulnerable, traumatizing, overwhelming. Mel, what can you add to your understanding?
Requires immediate assistance.
Yep, perfect. Cass?
Mel said what I was going to say. So something that needs immediate attention or action to be taken.
Beautiful. Alana, have you put your hand back up or? Yep. You're on mute.
It's in a situation that sometimes it needs as well immediate and like in pronto or I would say support, and also it's an overwhelming situation.
Perfect. Nick? Love your professional background, Nick. You did it. You got someone.
Oh, nice. Do that.
I would say it's a situation that I guess inhibits somebody to function normally and the way they would like to, and I guess it's probably pretty heavily emotionally involved as well.
So emotionally charged, and they've been inhibited from their normal function. Yep.
Yeah, from a range of different circumstances.
Fantastic. Cass, what's your definition?
So something that somebody, like a situation or that somebody can't control with their usual self. Like it can be different from an emergency. It can be something out of your control.
Out of your control can be a crisis. Awesome. So some of the definitions that they have are exactly what you gave me. And in addition to that, they say it's a stressful event, high risk situation, a threat, a turning point, insurmountable obstacle, or overwhelming experience. So you nailed it and then gave us even better. So now what we've got to do, if we need to recognize a crisis, we now know the magnitude of it, the intensity of it, and even the experience, that it's overwhelming, it's emotional, it's a crisis, it's immediate. Types of crisis, because this is about, you've got to be able to recognize them. So now we know the intensity of what it is, but now what actually would equate to that description? So I'm going to get everybody, and this is where I'm going to actually ask you all, I'm putting chat back on, and the only thing you can put in chat, people, because it's a training tool, you put your hands up, type away, let's go. I need to have a training tool where I can collect some evidence from your great minds all at once. So, yeah. So what is an actual example of a type of crisis? So you can go, okay, if that happens, I can recognize that as a crisis.
Okay.
And I want to see some definitely from everybody. Awesome.
Okay.
Financial crisis, domestic violence, natural disaster, a war.
I can't find my chat.
Family crisis, violence, relationships. This is amazing.
Okay, I got
All of this as well, guys, goes towards me assessing you at any time. So thank you. Terrorism, abuse, threats to others, drug use. Amazing. Confrontation. Again, if the more we get into chat, the more you can use other people's and not have to take notes. So the other things that we can do, and someone else can start typing, who's a fast typer? Whose hand's going up? Anybody? Nick, go for it, Nick. Can you put a loss of a job? We've got that already. Okay. What about just a mental health crisis? Midlife crisis. Oh my gosh, Renee's coming. We can cheer her. Financial crisis. Did we have that? A potential suicide is most definitely something we need to recognize as a crisis. If we see self-harm, put that in as a crisis. These are the things that we're going to see. Renee, we're so happy to see you. Obviously, child abuse, I think we've got to just put natural disaster. So these are things as community support workers that you're going to get in amongst and actually assist people. You can also think that you have internal crises as well as external crisis. These are just descriptions that someone may use. We can have developmental crises and midlife crisis. Amazing. So now you've got a really good foundation of the intensity of what a crisis would look like. And now you know how you would start to recognize a crisis. So let's move forward. Good job, guys. Better than good. Amazing.
Has Siv made her way in?
I don't think so. I can't see her on the screen.
Because she didn't get a link either.
See what you can do, Miss Cass.
All right.
Okay, so this is a crisis. We can't get our class together. See, we would call this a crisis. One of the gangs on the outside. We've got to get them in. So this is a trainer toolbox tip that I would really like for all of you to do some more investigation into the word equanimity. Because what we're looking for, if you have a composure that is equanimous, that means that you have evenness of mind, but it's not just that you can be cool, calm, and collected. It's cool, calm, and collected in a crisis. And this is where we need to train and get prepared for. We now know what it is. Now we're going to discuss how we're going to respond. The internal state that I need you to have when you respond needs to be one of equanimity. So by that, I'd love you to do your own research. It's calm and composed in a difficult situation. Another profession that I can give you is paramedics. If you look at how a paramedic comes onto the scene, they aren't running. If you start running and pulling up adrenaline, you're going to throw yourself into fight or flight. The front part of your brain, which is your executive functioning and can make rational decisions, shuts down. You'll get blood to your muscles to keep running. The other thing, how you can stay in a state of equanimity, which is calm and composed and cool-headed, is if you can actually get your breathing down. In a crisis situation, one of the first things that's going to happen is a natural response is to go shallow breathe or hold your breath. And when you do that, you flick yourself into your stress sympathetic nervous system. So I'd love you to look at equanimity, professions, you'll find paramedics, while they're assessing the crisis and assessing the person, are talking slow, walking slow, and moving slow. So you need to slow your mind down, slow your breathing down, get your breathing down, and keep cool-headed. Otherwise, you're going to go in shock and not be able to be a great support person. Please do some investigation and Googling on that. All right, guys. So what we've got is, now we've got to describe your responsibilities as a support worker responding to a crisis. So I've got Q1 because this actually has a duty of care. Question 2 is talking about your boundaries. Question 3 is about whether you can disclose, and question 5 is mandatory reporting. For a large amount of you who have already been doing your studies, you do already know the lingo. You've heard duty of care every single unit. But what we've got to do is recognise that there is a lot of people in this course who have just started. So what we're going to do now is actually discuss these. If you need to have your pen handy, do so. But what we're looking at is duty of care is where we're always going to follow our organisational policies and procedures. That's part of your answer for question 1. Your duty of care is to work in your job role and follow your job description and your job duties only. What we've got to do for duty of care as well is consider safety for self whenever you're in a crisis situation or on the job, just standard run-of-the-mill. Safety for self first is what comes first. Duty of care, you have to preserve the safety of your client/clients. And duty of care is safety for all involved. You may have other colleagues around you, with you in that situation. Daniel, you've popped your hand up.
I noticed there's not a question 4.
Oh, no, because I'm not giving you all the bloody answers. I'm just going to help you with some, mate. You're too generous. Don't you worry. Question 4 was probably so easy.
I thought it might have been a trick.
No, I'm only giving you parts, but these are really important to make sure that you know them, you can retain them, and then put them straight into this quiz. Maybe question 4 didn't tickle my fancy or didn't seem important enough. Duty of care, guys, we always talk about safety, but one thing that we're not really talking about, which we really need to put into the duty of care, is that we've got a duty of care to preserve not just their safety, but preserve their confidentiality. So down the bottom, it mentions in keeping boundaries, but duty of care is to keep safe their privacy, which means not sharing and disclosing anything. Duty of care, we've also got to preserve their independence, their autonomy, and their agency. So they come under safety as well. So now what we've got, oh, what you doing, Daniel? Question 2 talks about keeping professional boundaries. Keep off my slide, buddy. Keep your boundary. So what we've got is a professional boundary. I'm coming back to the group and I'm going to ask for someone who has already been in this class for some time. Would you please describe what a professional boundary is to someone who may just be joining us? Who wants to strut their stuff with their knowledge? Mel, do you want to do it for us? No? Anyone in the mood?
A professional boundary means that you are having literally that, a professional boundary, so that your client understands your role as their helper, not their friend, and making sure that neither of you are overstepping that in a way that could create an unhealthy attachment.
Fantastic. That's really well said. Thank you, Bianca. Cass, what can you add to that?
Not getting too attached to a client by using ethical and legal boundaries. So not crossing the line with them and overstepping your job role. like sharing personal information. Yeah, like not mixing your emotions with the care of the client, and not sharing your personal information with them as well.
So crossing that line is becoming a friend. Crossing that line is sharing information. Yep, fantastic. Daniel, how else could you accidentally cross that line? This is so important.
So yeah, professional boundaries. I mean, I'm only new to the course, but I know what.
Write them down, guys. Yep.
Yeah, professional boundaries. I mean, pretty much, it's you could step over that line pretty quickly. So male to female, like say you got a female that comes in and she's very vulnerable. I guess one way you could step over the line is, just really choose lightly step lightly with your language, and like someone's vulnerable, they could take one word and turn that right around. The next thing you know, you're in trouble because you've said a word and then you could be stuck in that moment, and
the professional language will keep you crossing the line.
Yes.
Absolutely. So you're wanting to as well, because you're keeping that professional language. You're not using slang and things which you would around friends. So what you're saying is they could get the impression that you're becoming overly friendly, or even overly sexual can happen.
And do you think, I guess, along with the language is your body language too? Like, the way you sit in your chair, or, like, yeah, I mean, if you're kind of all like relaxed while you're saying something, someone might misinterpret that.
Yep.
Or you could be sitting like this, intensely and saying, and they'll misinterpret that. So body language should go with your language, yeah.
Yeah. Body language is over 80% of what we communicate our message. Absolutely. So you bring it up every week, and I love it, because what we've got to do is keep professional posture as well. Yep. So actual posture will make a difference. Mel?
Not including your own history with things and situations and what worked for you, because that doesn't mean it will work for them.
So not giving advice and not giving a personal history in a way that you're directing their outcome. Amazing. Alana?
To my understanding, it's more of client's interest rather than personal interest.
Yep. So keep the boundary and stay person focused, client focused. That's another way to keep the boundary. Well done. Keep your focus to use boundary, Nick.
Yeah, I was going to say that different organizations probably have different approaches to different situations, and so it's important to adhere to the organization's policies and procedures and their manuals.
And you're right, because some may do support work where they do allow home visits. Therefore, there's permission. There'll be guidelines. Maybe they take 2 workers to a home visit. Other people, they may not. They may be fine with 1. So what you're saying is that if your setup is to do no home visits, then if you cross that, you've crossed that professional boundary because you're not doing policy and procedure correctly. Or if you're meant to go in tandem, 2 people only ever go, 1 as a witness as well, to support home, and you go on your own, then you've crossed that professional boundary. So I like that what you're doing is you're saying that it varies and that we need to make sure, bye Cal, that we check in with those changes and move with the changes. Jess?
I was going to say relationships within the workplace is, big boundaries we need to be careful of when the line is crossed. We talk about one person might think, a certain joke could be flirtatious and they may take that the wrong way, or you think it's a joke. So the way we interact with the rest of the staff, I guess, and the people that we work with, or even with clients also, need to be professional and obviously watch that we don't cross that line within like a personal level.
I really like that what you've brought in is your colleagues as well, Jess, because what we're always doing is we're focusing on the clients. We're focusing on external clients, our customer service for our clients. We have internal clients and they're our co-workers. So the same professional conduct goes in-house and out. And we forget that. Some people talk terribly to the people they work with. There is no internal customer service. So I like the fact that you're saying that this is professional boundaries within the company, within the professionals, professional to professional, professional to client. Love it. Love that. So now what we've got to do is say, okay, so how do we keep that, whether it's in-house or clients or not? And that is that we do not use social media with our clients. We don't give our Facebooks and get onto personal social media. It's we don't share contact details. We don't ever exchange gifts or loans of money. We don't do personal information, which you mentioned. And again, you've also mentioned the policies and procedures. So you should be all set to answer that one really well. And it is a critical one to do. So disclosure of information, obviously we can breach that if we feel there is potential harm or risk for our client or another person. So if we have suspicion of harm that is likely, not just has occurred, but is possible to occur, and again, it's reasonable suspicion. We don't need facts, but if we have enough information, we then pass that on when we report, and the person that we're going to report to in all times, first of all, will be our supervisor. We need to come up the chain of command to our manager, supervisor, centre director, whoever, whatever title they have. Question 5 actually wants the 5 mandatory reporting professions. I'll come back. And that is those that are across all of Australia. You'll learn later on when you do mandatory reporting, every state has different requirements. But I need to get some evidence, guys. So I'll open up chat again. And I just want you to actually quickly, it's open, type, oh, hang on, no, there you go. Type away who you remember, and this is your answer. Who do you remember your 5 to be across all states in Australia? Keep in mind, in Northern Territory, every person is classified as a mandatory reporter. So that's an easy state to remember. The rest is tricky. So throw your answers in and then you can all share your answers. Okay, beautiful. We're missing police, got them. Doctors, all teachers, all nurses, all police officers, and all psychologists. So you've got your answers there. So now what we're looking at is we now know what our duty is to help preserve safety. But now what we're looking at is there is a potential crisis. And what we're looking at is we're looking at physical and there's also threats. So one you can see obviously, and that's things like pushing, hitting. There's physical abuse that we might see that actually has where we can see that something physical is going to happen due to knives. So the indicators for us for physical are very easy to see. What I want to make mention of is that we have very challenged to actually understand what a threat would look like. So that's more like intimidation. Threats can come up through social media. Threats can come up through text. They're very hard to indicate. But what you're looking at, threats can also, for harm, can be if someone was to break someone else's possessions. Physical, you're talking about your physical body. When it's a threat, the indicators you're looking for are more challenging. They're about messages. It's about the things that are around that person. So if you were to be supporting a client and they start talking about having their property disregarded or smashed, what we've got to recognize is that when you do the domestic and family violence, having your property smashed is actually a classified abuse. So when we're starting to see threats or breakage of people's possessions, that is an indicator of threat. Other indicators that we've got of threat, we've got social and emotional. And I'm going to come back to the group and ask, what does anyone think could look like a social threat or even an emotional threat? What would indicators that someone, Daniel?
So just raised voice, sweating, sweating, pupils dilated.
Yep.
Moving forward, like people, you know, yeah, people tend to move forward if they're confused and they've got violence in their brain. They'll kind of move, you know, head forward.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
Great.
Blackmail.
Pardon, Bianca?
Blackmail.
Yes, perfect. So someone says that they've actually received a note that has an emotional content. Now we're looking at the start of a crisis, an emotional and mental crisis. Alona? You're on mute again.
Like a feeling of weak and then somewhat like the whole body shaking.
Yeah.
That's the reaction. And it's like because I've been experienced how many times. That's why it's just like overwhelming this really topic.
One important thing to do is if someone's coming like that is keep your hands open. Always keep your hand. If you do have to put your hands up, keep your hands open. Don't close your fists. Keep them open. Is it you're taking on what's going on? If the moment you close your fist and step forward, you're in a whole other world. Always keep your hands open.
Yeah.
That's one advice.
Thank you. Thank you.
So now I've got Nick, and I thought Jess had her hand up. Where'd you go? You put it down, Nick?
I was just sort of going to say, could a threat be anything that could trigger that flood or fight response?
Look, it can for some people. You're right. What we've got to recognise is that what one person describes as a threat is very different to someone else. So you're right. We've got to look at if they have been thrown into fight and flight and they feel threatened, then that is legitimate, even if it wouldn't be something that would threaten you or you would classify it as a threat. If the end result is that they are feeling threatened, then we act with that information. Yeah. Jess?
I don't know if this is right, but I thought maybe like bullying through either social media, within schools, within the workplace.
Taunting,
I'm not sure
put downs, name calling.
Yeah.
Stalking.
Yes. So what I'll give to you now is I'm just going to read through some physical indicators, obviously, that you would see on a client who's going to potentially have just had those situations that you explained, like the physical, the pushing, etc. We're looking for unexplained cuts or abrasions, bruising or swelling on any of our clients. That's going to be physical, that they're having something happen to them. We're looking for unexplained fractures, sprains, dental injuries. And for sexual, believe it or not, an indicator that you could look at that one of our clients was having a crisis, unexplained money or gifts, is actually an indicator that they could actually be having something happening in their life. It's out of context for them to be given something, but that is actually an indicator. Obviously, we've got direct or indirect disclosure, but we've also got if they're walking or sitting differently. These are just things, indicators of sexual crises and emotional abuse, because what we do is we're about to come into what gets classified as as a crisis, and abuse is actually classified as a crisis. So these are signs of abuse. Psychological abuse, some of the things that we can have is obviously clients who weren't having anxiety attacks can start to have anxiety attacks, suicide attempts, self-harming, and even speech disorders comes under psychological abuse. So these are indicators. So for financial, we've got if they're actually having challenges with inappropriate purchases, significant purchases, or difficulties keeping records. And then neglect, obviously, we've got if we're looking at changes in their weight. So we're looking for mental health reactions as well. But when we've got people who are maybe not eating well, just not looking after themselves, then we're looking at cleanliness and nutrition. So what we'll do now is keep moving on to the slides. So the types of abuse, I just gave you some of the indicators because the first thing we need to do is recognize them. And then what we've got is this is the first part of the list where we mostly think that abuse is physical, economical. They also call that financial, sexual, emotional, social, isolation, child or elder. What we're going to do is watch a really small clip. So I'll stop sharing for now to stop recording because we don't. So in addition, after watching that, our first list, we had these types of abuse listed. And then now what we're looking at is expanding that list. So the types of abuse are inciting fear is classified as abuse, stalking, intimidation, spiritual abuse, psychological, social, cultural, harm to people, harm to pets and property. So when we're wanting to recognize a crisis, these are the things that we are wanting to be able to recognize. Mahalia?
With the spiritual abuse, what are you meaning by that?
So what we've got to recognize that abuse is a situation where we have an imbalance of power. So somebody is taking control over someone else, either their money or their body by harming them. So with spiritual abuse, if they were taking over and overpowering and taking control, they may actually prohibit that person from going to church and actually having a spiritual connection at all.
Would the other way, would it work around the other way?
Can do.
If you're being forced to go?
Absolutely. Because generally what we're looking at, there's an imbalance of power. So thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah,
and
it's just
where you have lost control. Someone has taken over. So they've taken over your property and they're damaging. They've taken over your body through sexual abuse and they're doing a damaging act. They've taken your money and they're damaging by spending that or hoarding it. So they have taken control. You are no longer in your own power and they are dictating your course of action. And that's where the abuse is in spiritual, and that would be in your faith, in your church. They may actually also, as you've got the social and cultural, some people ban other family members or partners from socializing, and they limit who they can go with. So that could actually couple with spiritual. That person may have a social circle at their church that's really, really vital for them, and they'll cut them off in two ways. And it even may relate to their culture, because culture doesn't just mean your where you've been born, your country. Culture is your way of life. So faith, church, maybe Christ might be part of your culture, your social circle, and your spirituality. So thank you for bringing up that, because what we do cover is the complexity of crisis and abuse.
Yeah, I was just wondering about with the spiritual, does it go the other way around, that you're forced into doing, like I grew up as a Jehovah's Witness, and when I left as a teenager, I was still forced into going for quite a long time. And they're very controlling, and just the environment that as well. So I was just wondering if that
Yeah, so that's dictating and instilling your faith and how you spend your time around your spiritual practices. So yes, so that's really taking control. So what we've got to do now is look at questions 6, 7, and 8, and we're going to go into a breakout room. These are questions that you can have a quick discussion with your class. We won't bring it back to the class, but I'm going to ask every person at home who's in the course, but you're just remotely watching this. I hope you've had your pen handy. Get your pen handy now, because I want you to answer these questions, because then you're 3 questions ahead for task 1. These are 3 questions in task 1, and they are, before you do this course, what were your assumptions about crisis situations? What are some common assumptions that you've heard other people have around crisis situations? It might be that people bring on crises to themselves, that it's, you know, something they deserve. But you would have heard something that you would say is an assumption. It's not based on fact. It's hearsay and an opinion. We really need to figure out what were our opinions around this, so that we can put them aside and open up our minds to a better understanding, so we can see clients better. We may have a very narrow view of what a crisis is, and we may miss the indicators. So we've got to also think of other assumptions and then see how we can dismiss them. And why can assumptions about people at risk of a crisis, and this is risk of a crisis, not in a crisis, we have a duty of care to mitigate, remove potential dangers, not just respond when a danger is happening. We need prevention. So we've got to ask ourselves, how are these assumptions, ours or others, going to harm our job as a support worker at preventing harm and averting a crisis from actually happening? So I'm going to stop sharing. How does that sound, guys? Because this is the really good part, where we've got to look at the blocks and the barriers. What's blocking you from seeing a client in need and their needs if it doesn't fall into your description of what an actual crisis looks like? Are you going to respond to it appropriately as a crisis? So I'm going to, did I stop recording? Okay, so you've just come out of the break room and looking at assumptions that could become a barrier for us being able to look at the signs and indicators of abuse and just miss it. Does anyone want to share anything that was quite an epiphany that you hadn't actually realized was an assumption or barrier, Cass?
So we discussed so before this course, so I figured that a crisis situation is like something that's happened in a moment, like an emergency situation, like a natural disaster or a car accident or something like that. But it can be something that's progressive, that can happen over time. And one of the biggest assumptions is that people blame the person. So if I went into financial crisis, people might think that I've made bad life choices or I've acted recklessly. So I've sort of brought it on myself. But, you know, some things are out of our control and we can't do everything. So it's not always your fault. So I think that's the biggest assumption, is that it's the person's brought it on themselves. And then again, like we discussed, that there's that stigma around that, where you don't want to tell people if you are vulnerable, in case there are those assumptions that are made about you, that you are to blame for the situation or what's going on in your life.
Yeah. And maybe you actually even are. But we are having a non-judgment lens. We are holding respect for all and their choices, because let's face it, if we have somebody who is challenged with manic behavior and they are trying to distract themselves through over shopping, do we not offer them compassion? I like the fact that you said there's a bit of a blanket for an assumption that in most cases, but in some cases there will. So what we're going to do, guys, is keep going and realize that assumptions, and it might be that the assumption is that you don't help someone who brought it on themselves. Well, we assist all in need in our service and always with compassion. So let's keep going and looking at, we are wanting to look at some potential risks, and this means that we're wanting to look at potential clients who might be more high risk. And what we're looking at here is, obviously this is mental health. So clients who do have a mental illness can be more susceptible to having family violence at home. So therefore that can put them into a higher risk category. If we've had pregnancy or recent birth in the household, then we know if it's a single parent, they can be more at risk of crisis and abuse situations, or even in a family situation, there can actually be higher risks. So these life situations increase the risk factors. So other potential risks are if our client is using alcohol or other drugs, they are in a higher risk for us. Therefore, we need to be more observant of indicators. An isolated client, we're going to really be wanting to watch indicators there. Suicidal attempts, previous ones, or anyone who is challenged with suicide ideation, we are now looking at that these are people that are more likely to fall into potential abuse happening for them, which is a crisis. So we need to flag these clients as higher risk. Talking about risk factors, we need to recognize that they may not be isolated or had a baby, but it might be part of their personality. Some people really do like to take higher risks. A personality that takes higher risk is in a higher category for us as far as wanting to really be observant of indicators. They may have not, we need to have knowledge of their circumstances. Therefore, we will be able to identify any life issues a little easier for them. Alona?
I'd just like to add the risk factors of, like, say, abuse. I think another thing I'm gonna add to that is, like, women came from overseas. It's like immigrants women.
Yes.
Are also very high of risk of abuse.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. When we do the domestic family violence module, they are classified as one of the high risk factors. And that's because there is an imbalance of power. As you say, Alona, they're not established here yet. They may not have a support system.
Yeah, exactly.
They may not have finances, so they are vulnerable. And it is elderly are vulnerable, children are vulnerable, immigrants are vulnerable. So what we've got to recognize is that your mental health clients are vulnerable. They fall along the same alliance. So what you're saying, Alona, is you may have a immigrant female who is isolated, does have a risky personality, and also is using substance. We need to compile this. Yeah.
Because I experienced myself.
Okay. Thank you for letting us be aware of how serious the combination is.
It is. It's an epidemic.
Yeah. Thank you, Alona. Sorry that's happened for you. Daniel, you've got your hand up. Are you a risk taker, Daniel?
Oh, well, yes, I have been in the past. I have been in the past. I remember when I did a rehab back when I was 19 for heroin addiction, and there was the people there had a thing saying there was 3 types of personalities. You had A, B, and C. And I was categorized as a B person, a risk taker. So you got people that I can't remember exactly how it was, but I was categorized as a B, a risk taker. So you got people, I think they're categorized A, people that aren't, they're sort of more reserved, more sheltered. Then there was me, B, that was more risk taking, and then there was C, someone that think a bit more. You might have heard something like that before, but so yes, I was a risk taker, and they really had to work on how someone like me would get through my life being like that.
Yeah.
Like,
it's an internal drive to live a little bit more on the edge. And thank you for bringing that up, how important that is, because as Cass had mentioned too, we assume a crisis has a start and a finish. And what you're saying, Daniel, giving us another layer, I love it. It's an ongoing crisis when there's an internal crisis for some people to put themselves in harm's way. And it can be an internal drive from their personality style that doesn't have a start and a finish, like Cass is saying. It's an ongoing risk if it's driven from their personality.
And you would have seen that in me. Like, if the person that was counselling me back then, they would have seen it all over me. If they knew what they were doing, I was just, I couldn't talk properly. I was just constantly anxious. I'm only a young man, so like I didn't know where I was.
They're the indicators we talked about: speech changes, anxiety. You mentioned fidgeting body and everything. Daniel, it would really be good for you to reflect on and see yourself and write some of those indicators down for you as part of your indicators for because if you've got lived experience, you'll spot them even better. And you're probably going to do lived experience and this sort of work with people. So just have a moment where you can really put all those down on paper. They'll be so valuable for you. Because a lot of us, as we know, even though we're not making assumptions, we won't have the experience of seeing them as quickly. So they're valuable to you. So what we've got to do now is we've talked about indicators and how do we recognize it. And now we're at the point, so we've got, like Daniel said, we've seen some indicators and now we've got to respond. So the first thing what we've really got to do is assess. And what we're looking for here is in our assessment, one of the first things that we're always looking for with our clients, and a lot of this crisis stuff we're dealing with right now is workplace crisis with clients. So what we really got to put it on our high assessment list is risk of suicide is one of the things that we're needing to assess first. But generally speaking, we're actually assessing the problem and we're looking at the information and the situation. And that obviously would be how many people involved, what is the situation, how critical is the situation. So is it a car accident? Is it 2 cars, 3 cars? And we're also assessing who is around. Maybe we need to assess if there's exit points. So that is simply looking at the information of the incident. Immediately we need to seek assistance, whether that's emergency assistance, our supervisor or other co-workers. And what we're then really needing to do is in the hierarchy of things, once we know what is happening, where it's happening and to whom, we immediately get support. And then what we're doing is we're looking to get safety. So we do have role plays, and these are the steps in the role plays. We're going to assess, get assistance, make it safe. So they're the steps we're going to take in the role plays. The other things that we're going to do is we're going to look at when we respond, what communication will we use? We're about to dive into that. We need to actually remove the actual harm if we can, or even remove the person if we can. It might be that there's self-harming, and what we might need to do, part of our response might be that we need to remove a weapon. But consider that in the responding, you may need to remove something. You may need to remove the clients from the reception. You may need to remove the car keys from the drunk client. So part of removing is going to be, what do you need to do to mitigate that crisis? Is anything required to be removed? Now, on discussing, again, we're going to look at communication in a moment, but what they're really looking is that we need to actually discuss the detrimental impacts that it's had for the person. So that's the discussion, is what has this crisis done for the person? The support part of the responding is, what's the crisis done for us? So once everything's been removed, everybody's safe, we've got all of that happening. we really do need to discuss with our management supervisors, and that will come also through incident reports and some ongoing training and discussion. Support needs to happen for us, and that'll be obviously whether or not we have family support, friendship circle, or support through our employers. But basically, support must come for us as well. So there you go, Daniel, you're going to love this because you talk about body language all the time. And you did bring up, thank you, how important it is to make sure that in a crisis communication, open body language is what you need. So what we're not wanting to do is use the closed body language, which this woman is giving a communication message of aggression. We're not wanting to be emotionally distressed and all, carry on. We're needing to have that equanimity, cool and calm. And we're needing to display that in our physiology. And then when we do speak, our use of language is really important. So we need to have language, which you will see in a moment because I've got a role play and I'm using the words here to help you, support you. I'm here for you. I won't leave you. You'll listen to the language. So when we get back, we're about to have a break. When you get back, you'll notice that my demeanor in the short clip is very calm, very soothing. I'm not distressed. I'm actually trying to de-escalate the person. I'm not moving. And you'll see that. So this communication is what you'll get to see in a moment after the break. So the manner of which we are then sending our message is through one of a compassionate, non-judgmental lens. We're always looking for informed permission. We're rights-based. And even though the person is in the crisis, we are never taking control. We're always culturally respectful. And we have sensitive practices to that person's culture. So where we're up to now is we're going to have a short break and come back at 7:30. And I'll stop sharing, but we're going to do your professional practice. So we're going to watch a very quick role play of what I've done, of what it would look like on your end for your first role play. So I will show you the role play in script, the scenario. I'll also then show you the checklist of what you're needing to have in your video, and then I'll show you a video of me doing it. And then you've virtually just got to be able to practice modeling that. If you feel that you could do that tonight, I can assess you tonight. But it's much fairer of me if I give you a really clear video of what I need from you. Yes? So guys, we're nearly at 7:18. So how about you actually come back at 7:35, have a good break. I'll get everything ready and we'll start role playing. See you then. So I'll just explain this and then I'll come back to what we're going to do. Nick, did your hand go back up again or is that the old one? Okay.
That's the old one, sorry.
Okay, that's okay. So this is going to be new to you as well, everybody. Again, this is a requirement that's now just come in. When you start your role play recording, because most of you will be doing your role plays by recording on your phone, they are asking if you could just describe your workplace. I've done this in my video I'm about to show you. And what they're asking is at the beginning, if you can just say my name is, and they're asking you to then describe your workplace. So this slide I've made for you, and you'll see me describe my workplace. What we've got to do is that the video is a simulation. So they're needing ASQA, which is the governing body, are needing us to get you to describe so that you know that you might be in your bedroom recording. Where would you be? What would it look like? So they're needing you to set the scene. I have that in my video. typically, most role plays, the checklist would start with rapport. We talk about privacy and confidentiality. We explain our role. That's a typical role play. In a crisis situation, we don't get to do this, but I do want to leave the slide up so that most people realize that I've missed these steps. I'm not missing being culturally sensitive or verbally validating the client. I have those. I'm non-judgmental, and I am showing empathy, respect, and listening, but I'm not explaining my role. Those first few steps of privacy and confidentiality, and I'm making notes, is that okay with you, are generally having to be skipped in a crisis. So please notice they're missing. This is the role play for a crisis checklist. There are 3 role plays in this unit, and this is what I, as an assessor, need to see in your video. I need to see that you can identify and respond to the signs of crisis. That's the whole purpose of this unit. That you can observe carefully for the signs that may be unsafe. You're looking for risks to self or others. Then I need to see you act in a way that can ensure that safety for yourself and others in the environment. And then determine whether or not, are we needing emergency assistance? Am I calling the police? Am I calling an ambulance? I need to see you have appropriate communication, and that is open body language that we just discussed, a calm manner, and appropriate language. Look for those things. Yes, Deborah, you've put your hand up.
I had, sorry. I'm just wondering, is this PowerPoint available to us after today?
Yes,
So we have
we'll get a recording of this. So
okay.
I've made these slides extra for you, and you'll be able to sit down, and you'll even be able to sit down, maybe even watch me and look at this list.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome, Deborah. So you're needing to look at whether or not I'm able to actually assist the client with some positive thoughts. Consider any coping mechanisms or helping them make decisions. Look for that. And you're watching me behave in a way that's legal and ethical. So what we're doing is, this is our person. You have been given Denise as your client for this task and assessment. So you're a client services officer of First Access, and you're actually to assist the client Denise in updating her details with Centrelink and renewing her car registration. So she actually lives in a small country town, and she's coming to your service in a busy suburb, and it's often emotionally and physically exhausting for her. So there's indicators now. We've got someone who is fatigued and stressed. Denise has been attending the service for months, so she's well known to you. She's in her early 40s, and she has been diagnosed with post-traumatic stress disorder. So again, she's a vulnerable person. There was an attempted murder-suicide recently. So this is something that's been ongoing for her, but she's recently had a traumatic event. She was shot in the leg as she tried to escape. Her partner attempted 2 more times. So this person, you have just finished assisting Denise, and you're making a follow-up appointment in a month. So she's not going to see you for a while. And you and Denise are standing, there's a busy reception area, and you are saying goodbye. So at that particular point, you're actually about to leave her alone. So the instructions that you were given in this assessment is that you're in the assessment reception area with Denise after she's finished her appointment. You're bidding her farewell, and she becomes distressed. Now, what we need to see is that you respond to Denise and provide her support in this crisis situation. So what we've got to do is come back to that checklist. Can you identify what's going on? Can you respond? Can you keep observing the signs, minimize the risk, ensure safety, consider about getting support, etc. So I'll stop sharing. So what I've done is I've quickly tried to do this video for you, and I can keep recording. I hope it actually works. So let's see how we go. I'll come back. Tell me if you can hear this. I'm a trainer and assessor for Hayden Institute of Education, and I'm doing a condensed version of a support session. It's as an assessment. The CHCCCS019, recognise and respond to crisis situations.
I can hear it, but it's no video, it's just you.
That we're doing is actually task 2, and it's role play 1, which is Denise. I'm currently a support worker,
Not
and
really.
I am out with Denise at the moment. We have just.
Maybe start it again. We've got no video.
You know, it's not really.
Can you not see me?
No. Oh, we can see you, but not the video.
Yeah, not the video.
It is just me talking.
Oh.
But your video's still. You can't.
Sorry.
For a while.
Maybe start it again.
Okay,
Yeah.
so I froze, did I?
Yeah,
It's working, it's just not moving.
Yeah.
Oh, that's not pleasant.
You've got audio, but no movement.
Oh.
It is.
So what we also got to remember, guys, is that this is an example of what I need to see you do. And you just have a person in front of you with limited input, because this still took 7 or so minutes and we're looking for 10 minutes of footage. Hello, my name is Karen Tonkin. I'm a trainer and assessor for Hayden Institute of Education, and I'm doing a condensed version of a support session. It's as an assessment. The CHCCCS019, recognise and respond to crisis situations. So the first task that we're doing is actually task 2, and it's role play 1, which is Denise. I'm currently a support worker, and I am out with Denise at the moment. We have just been to Centrelink, and she's from the country, post-traumatic stress, recent event, traumatising, suicide, and a car back bias. We're in the busy centre, and this is my skills at being able to respond to this particular crisis. So, first of all, I've identified that I have just said goodbye to Denise, and that is actually the same time that this trigger has happened. So my first thought is that Denise is also going to be alone. So my response initially is going to be, Denise, I can see that you just got upset. Something has upset you. I will not leave now. Please know, Denise, I'm going to stay with you. I can see you're shaking, Denise. You're safe. I'm here to support you. Denise, let's leave this busy area. Would you like me to get you to a quieter space? You would, yes? Okay. For now, let's just get to this small office where it's private and you have some safe space to be out of the crowd. Let's go and we can just connect and I can support you there. So I'm going to relocate now to a quieter area, and I'm going to sit down calmly with Denise and make good eye contact and just let her know. Denise, that was very disturbing for you. Was it the backfire of the car? Okay. And what's happening for you right now? Can you explain what's happening for you that I can have a better way to understand and support you? Okay. So what you're saying, Denise, is that it's all too much. You're very stressed and you can't go on. Does that mean just here and now in this moment? In general? Okay. You've really gone into overwhelm. Okay, Denise. I'm here to support you. As I said, I'm not leaving. But who else can we bring in to support you, Denise? I know that you've got the long way drive back alone, and you've said that you don't want to go on. I'm sure that the trip is going to be, you've said in your words, overwhelming. Is there someone we can call that can come to be with us and yourself right now, Denise? Let's open up that support circle and give her a call. Would you like to call her, or would you like me to call your friend? You're going to call your friend. Okay, Denise. I'll let you do that now. So Denise is going to bring an extra person for support in, and they're going to be coming on their way, because I would never leave a client who's been triggered alone. So Denise's friend's on her way, and Denise's friend's coming. Denise, I just want to let you know as well that we can make sure that we can potentially do Centrelink visits remotely, maybe over the phone or through the computer in the future. So know that this stress and this situation, I know it triggers you with all the noise and the long drive. I'm going to look into steps as to how we can prevent you being in this busy situation in the future. Would you like me to look into that and make some adjustments and prepare for a better time for you next time that you need to use the services here in town? Okay, I can definitely do that for you if that's what you wish. No trouble at all. I would be happy to help you. Do I have your permission to share your details when I make those bookings? Thank you. Okay, that's great. At the moment, I just want to make sure that you're feeling a little calmer. How are you feeling right now that we've been able to sit down? Okay, not as trembling. That's great. And now that you know your friend is coming, will you stay there tonight and stay and be safe in town and not do the long drive back? Okay, it's wonderful. So Denise, when will you do the drive back home? Tomorrow morning. Okay. Could I ask that maybe you give me a call or a text just to let me know that you're safe and that you made the journey? It's just really important for me to know that you've managed to get home safely and you feel really good about returning home. Will there be anyone at home for you, Denise, when you arrive tomorrow? Okay, great. All right. So at this stage, you'll organise someone to meet you at home, to be at home with you and to spend the night with you at home as well. That's a fantastic idea, Denise. Well, at this particular stage, I just want to ask you, while we wait for your friend, can I get you a glass of water? Would you like to do some deep breathing so we can just catch your breath before she comes? Okay. Well, I'm here for you, as I said, and I won't leave you till I know that you're with some safe support. In the moment, I'll just go and fetch you a really nice water. And while we wait, we'll do some deep breathing to make sure you're a little bit more calm and collected. And then I'll look forward to hearing from you tomorrow when you're home. And then tomorrow, maybe you could let me know when you'd like our next session. It can be sooner if you don't want to wait a week. Yeah. Absolutely, I can touch base with you. We can do a telehealth over the phone in a couple of days. Feeling triggered is a time where you do need more support, and I'm here for you. And I can open up an appointment for you. Absolutely, I can. I'll grab that water for you now. We'll do some deep breathing until your friend arrives. Fantastic. So at this particular stage, the crisis has been assessed. I have responded to the crisis. I have managed, I've got supports in, and I've got contingency plans to avoid this in the future. I've got permission to share, and I've looked after the duty of care. And at this particular stage, it's really just a matter of making sure that the person arrives and that there's a safe handover and that some really good case notes are made regarding this event. So hope that assists you.
Oh my goodness me.
Is that okay? All right. That's the easy one. Rani, don't leave us. Where are you, Rani? Don't panic. Poor Rani's just come on board and now goes, what have I got to do?
Yeah, look, it's different.
Yes.
It's different.
So again,
I'm a bit overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed, that's for sure.
It's going to be okay. Just take some deep breaths. We're here to support you.
Yeah, thanks. I need it. I need it. Oh, jeez.
We're a fun bunch and we'll get you through, buddy. Don't you even worry. Peter?
Yeah, all right.
Yeah, it's just one step at a time until you do. Don't worry too much.
No, don't worry at all.
Say if you know this person unfortunately didn't have someone to come to them and help them, and would you have to stay with them and commit them somewhere to make sure they're safe, like to a hospital or somewhere? What would you do in that circumstance?
So at this particular point in time, she's not having suicide ideation or thoughts, but if you were to leave them and where they said, no, I don't want to stay in town, again, we've got dignity of risk. We can't make someone do anything. Did you see how many times I kept checking as well? Would you like this? Is that okay? Shall we? Yeah. So again, it is up to them. They may say, oh, Nola, I'm going to turn off chat, Nola. Hang on. You'll be right, Nola. So what we've got to do is dignity of risk. If she said, no, I don't want anybody, I'm jumping in the car. There's very little that we can do if they are going to do that. What we do have a duty of care to do in that moment is to check for safety. And a really good way to speak to someone when you're asking about suicide is asking, do you have any plans to end your life? That's a way to ask without using the word. Yeah, because some people feel really worried about using the word. Or do I give them ideas by using the word? So if you're feeling really concerned, you can simply ask, before I leave you in this state, what else can I do? And then see what ideas they generate, Peter.
And so just on that point, I know I'm pushing the extreme, but just say they say, yes, I'm going to kill myself now.
It's a 000 call.
Yeah, so would you try and keep them there until emergency services arrived?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
In the extreme, yeah. It's not
Yeah.
that restraining sort of thing.
There are paramedics, there are mental health paramedics that are trained for this. So they will deploy the right paramedics to come. Yep. Yeah. So the right people with the right training. We're always looking to hand over in a crisis situation to supervisors, and in some situations that's emergency services.
Yeah, good, thanks.
Yeah, no, great work. So
It was really good, Joan.
Oh, well, I had to try and get it in very quickly for you all. And where we're at now is I'm just going to ask, okay, Daniel. Yes.
I just wanted to add that you don't have to talk about life. You just have to, do you think about harming yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, because even self-harm is a reason not to leave someone alone. So you can, as you say, come down a notch, and you may not have to even go as far. So with the role plays, it's 8 o'clock. If anyone wants to role play with me, and I will, well, actually, we've got to role play with someone else. So I've got to be the assessor. But if you want to role play tonight, I can assess you tonight. Simply got to have someone who's Denise, you've heard it backfire, you've had a trigger, and you need some calming and reassurance, and you need to get some support and some assurances around the mitigating part with me letting her know that in the future, I'm going to make actions to prevent her being in this situation again. So just feeling like, oh, oof, this is a one-off. That's a de-escalating. I never have to do this again. We can make sure this doesn't happen to you again, which you can. So did you notice I was purposely trying to simply calm the situation, calm the client, and de-escalate the concerns? Yes, Rani?
Yeah, just so like with your role play, like the de-escalating part of that was you like taking Denise into the smaller office.
Yeah,
relocating. Relocating her and just making her feel like she was safe outside of where she heard the backfire. Yeah. Is that right?
Yes. So any type of de-escalating, Rani, you're spot on, is any way that you can give someone control back over the situation. A stress response is particularly post-traumatic stress is where you feel that you've just been taken into fight or flight, into your stress mode and out of personal control. And that's the other reason, Rani, you ask me and say, shall we move from here to the smaller office? Not, here, come with me, let's go. I've got an idea. I'll make it better. The person must always have control, choice, and voice, agency, because that's what will de-escalate everything. So then I said, I kept asking, would you like to call them or shall I do that? So my support was an offering. So they can actually say yes, no, maybe, and they actually, and that's why I was saying to Peter, if they're in a really bad state, you'd ask how, and I had said that, can you tell me what happened so I know how to support you better? Them relaying the story and say, well, this just happened, is a little bit of talk therapy. They're de-escalating by actually naming the situation. If you can name it, you can tame it with anxiety. So you can say, I just heard a car. I thought it was. When you give something labels, it's called name it to tame it. So that's what I was also doing by giving her the words back and say, I can see you're shaking. I can hear you're upset. You're very distressed. Those words actually make her think, in this moment, I'm not alone. Somebody sees me. There's a companion in the stress. So that's where I'm validating her feelings as well. I'm not saying, don't worry, it'll be okay. There's nothing to worry about. That's dismissive language. That happens a lot, actually, and it happens a lot to children. Up you get, you'll be right, never happened, shake it off. So the validating the feelings has two effects. One, it lets them know you're not alone. I'm physically not leaving you, but I'm also not emotionally leaving you in that state because I can see what state you're in.
Yeah.
So therefore, they have a companion in the distress. So what we're doing also is by labeling it, it actually contains the issue. And that's where you can say to someone, can you tell me what's going on? Let them put words to their description. As soon as they do, they are pulling down those helium balloons. They've got them, and if they're not just flyaway concepts of an out of control sensation happening in their body, if they label it, they're actually controlling their internal state through words.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. So, so hopefully that helps. What we will do though is, if anyone wants to role play that right now, I can assess you. Don't throw me in and be Denise. And again, please, did you see I didn't have a lot of Denise talking? I've noticed a lot of role plays, they go on for 15 minutes because Denise, we've already read about Denise. We've got Denise in our descriptions everywhere. But then Denise goes and does 50% of the talking. So if you looked at the way I did it, which I modeled a bit off Peter's, I have to say, you've got to give Peter a clap. He did some, and he had the same, maybe less than 20% or less than a fifth of what, because I'm assessing you. So I don't need your friend or your family member talking a lot. I need to see basically what I prepared there with a little bit of chit chat, where I nodded as if she mentioned something. Yes, Peter?
I'll have a go if someone wants to have a go at.
Good on you. So you're gonna be the person who's de-escalating. First of all, you've got to identify. Yep.
I'll try. I'll see how I go. I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it.
Yeah, this is great for everybody at home, because what you're going to see is what you'll be doing and preparing your own video. So who would like to be Denise? Please don't take over with too much chit chat.
I'll do Denise. No worries.
Great, Daniel. Fantastic. Well, let's just say that we're going to roll with an assessment in real time. It's on recording. I'll let you guys take it away, and I'm just going to take some notes.
Anyway, Denise, it's been great to see you. Denise, are you okay?
Oh, look, it's been hard. This Centrelink thing's really doing my head in. Yeah. Seems like it all comes up. Yeah.
I can just see something's really just upset you. Just the way you're acting now. Has something happened?
Well, yeah, my partner's, he's not the safest person to be around at the moment. I don't know really where to be. Last night
I think what might have happened, Denise, is the car just backfired, which made you reflect that you might have just took you back to when you got shot. That's what I think that role play is supposed to be.
Yeah, well, so sorry, so start again.
We'll start again. So what happens is we go out to the lobby, and I'm saying goodbye to you. You're going and driving back up the bush.
Yeah.
And then there's a car backfires.
Yes.
And you have this flashback to when your partner shot you.
Yeah.
So then you go into this state you were in when you regress back to that state. So you suddenly become frightened and anxious, like it happened. And so you become very vulnerable.
You're panicked.
Yeah. So, I mean,
So that's where we take it from.
Yeah. So, all right, Peter. So I need your help. I mean, I can't. I don't think I can step outside right now.
So let's start again. Right. Right. So see you later, Denise. You okay?
No, I can't step outside. I can't even touch the door.
I can see something's happened.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
Oh, well, I've just heard something that's taken me back to
Okay.
recent. You know, it's pretty bad. Like
I
I
see.
hear any loud noise and it puts me into a state of shock.
Okay. What about would you like to maybe step inside, go back into the office where it's a bit quieter?
No, I've actually got a friend that's calling me right now. Like, I really would like to talk to her. Like, yeah,
Okay.
she's pretty
Okay.
cool. She's going to help me out. You know, like.
Maybe you might go into the office just for a second. We can have a bit of a chat, and might be able to help you for a moment.
Oh, can I speak to my friend first, or
Okay, don't worry, it's all right. Don't worry. All right, so that's fine. So I think the idea was you were supposed to go into the office and have a bit of a chat.
You don't necessarily have to. Keep going. Keep going.
Okay, all right.
The client's not wanting to go to the office. What are you going to do, Peter?
All right, so you're okay. You're okay to talk here?
No, well, I need to talk to my friend.
I'd love to talk to you for a moment.
I guess I'm going to the way of, like, maybe she's part of her is maybe wanting her to use drugs, or she wants to leave because she she's got a friend that's got drugs.
Okay, so are you happy to would you mind just having a quick chat with me? Have you got time?
How long? Like.
Okay, well, I'm just really concerned. You seem to be.
I've got things to do. Like, yeah.
I understand, but so you want to leave?
Sorry?
You want to leave?
Well,
it's okay if you want to leave.
Yeah, well, you know, I kind of want to. My friend needs me.
Okay,
you know,
then.
I need her. She
I
needs
can't
me.
stop you. I'm just concerned for you. When's your friend going to be here?
Probably 10 minutes. So yeah, I wouldn't. You know, maybe I've got a couple of minutes to spare.
Okay. So can you tell me why you're upset for?
It's the sounds. I just need to get away from somewhere. Yeah.
Okay.
I will come and spend. Okay, I've got 2 minutes. Like, my friend's going to be here soon. I've got 2 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So I can tell you you're not feeling yourself. No, sorry, I'm lost. I can't keep going. I've lost the train of thought.
You're doing great, mate. You're doing great.
No, I got totally thrown by the whole thing. I'll have to.
How can I support you right now?
Yeah, how can I support you right now?
Yeah. Well, that's you've only got a couple of minutes, don't you? I mean, what do you do with that? It's like, you know, she just wants to get out of there. Yeah, I mean, what can you do with that? Sorry, I'm going on the side of the role play. But yeah, it's like, well, I just want to go. Like, I'm sick of the sound. I just want to be on my own. I'm sick of people. I'm sick of being abused. I just want to fucking be on my own.
Oh, what's your language? Okay, Daniel, thank you. All right.
Okay,
so for Denise not saying much, I think we need another Denise for Peter.
That's right. Yeah, it's a bit.
But anyway, let's just recognise that in a crisis situation, somebody often has lost their mind. They're not willing to go along with things as smoothly as it goes.
Well, that's kind of what I was trying to do, Karen. I was trying to just.
Yes, I hear you, Daniel. Good point. They are very dismissive of your help. They've gone into fight or flight. They're pumped with adrenaline.
Yeah.
So what you've got to do is start to de-escalate someone who's escalating. So what you can do is you've got to really watch. You've only got a few words that you can use because their mind is not registering. Sometimes they literally can't hear. I don't know if you've ever got so stressed. You can't hear anyone speaking. It's all mumbles. So there's a chance you've got one or two words. So in that situation, also fight, flight, or freeze, you're about to have a flight situation. You will have flight situations where people potentially will bolt. So what you've got to do in that situation, if they're really saying no, thank you, where you have to start saying things that's okay. You have complete control. I hear you. That's your choice. You've got to have honoring statements. Otherwise, they're going to fight being heard. So did you not just hear me? Okay, so all you can do is reassure them. What we're looking for to de-escalate is reassurance. So in that moment, if they are being very demanding and saying, this is what I want, you have to say, I understand. I can hear you. I've heard what you've asked. Okay, because they're fighting to be heard. And then you can just say, what I've heard is, then they can hear that you did hear them, validate it. What I just heard you say is that you'd like to leave right now. Is that correct? Give them control. Yes. Okay. All I can do in this moment is give you my card again. You've got my number. I was just leaving. It's okay. I can stay. But if you wish to go, I want to just give you my number. And on the back is all the other helplines. Call me if you need me. It's okay to leave, but just know that I'm here one phone call away. That's all you can do. So you've got a lot of case notes that you'd have to have. You may have to actually immediately, as part of your protocol for work, respond to your superior, explain this as a situation. Then they advise you of what they would like to do, or you'll have different protocols to do. But you just need to say, I hear you. I hear what you say. I've just heard you say, is that right? So I hear you, I hear you, I hear you, is what I would have done with Daniel. Just can hear you, buddy. I hear your choice. I honor it. And say, you have complete control, Daniel. I honor your choice. I just need to let you leave with my business card and know that I'm one call away. Text me. So, tricky days. Make sure you choose someone who knows where the role play is going, but take the role play where you
made it really easy for me, actually.
Yeah, take the role play where you need it to go, though. Make it decision.
I choose you, Pikachu.
Well, look, I guess I've dealt with a lot of difficult situations over the time, and when you're in a situation, you do roll with the punches because that's what you're expecting.
Yeah. Honor their choice and honor the person.
When you have a set
dignity
sort
of
of
risk.
perception of
Yeah.
what's going to happen, it's very easy to get sidetracked.
So the bit that you just weren't expecting it because I asked for a nice to Denise.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
Good to do though. Thank you, Daniel. Because your clients aren't going to be as sweet as what I role played. I just role played where you could give me the checklist in the best scenario. So what I'm going to do now is head back to sharing the slides, because what we're finishing the night with is questions. Open, close, direct questions. In a crisis, you're really needing to get to direct questions. Are you safe right now? What can I do for you right now? They're very direct. They're seeking information. So we'll get back to sharing. So you've got the role play instructions, you've got the checklist, you've got the blurb about Denise that's there, you've got an example of me doing a very succinct, neat, quick role play in 7 minutes. Get on, get a friend, get videoing. The types of questions that you can ask in general are closed questions, are short, often yes or no answers, and they give facts. So a short question was, would you like me to call your friend or would you like to call your friend? Yes, Cass?
Can you just put the slide on before this one quickly, the checklist, so I can just quickly get a snap of it? Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Did you get it?
Thank you. Yeah, just so I can send it to Sib and Renee for Saturday, that's all.
No trouble.
Thank you.
So this gives the questioner, again, a bit of control over the conversation. So if you're needing to, someone who's panicked and you're needing to get information, where did you run from? Who did you run from? Okay, you need some control because you're needing information. This is what's happening in that initial assessment. Yeah, so there is another scenario we've got where someone does run into your centre. So you're going to have a lot of closed questions. The open questions are the longer ones where you're asking them to think and reflect. That's the question when I've said, what's happening for you right now? gives them a moment to come back to themselves and give you something about how they're feeling. What we're wanting to do is very quickly, and I will come back to this because I have to stop the recording, is we're going to just discuss direct questions are used a lot in a crisis. Are you afraid of someone in your family? If so, who? Assessing safety is done in a direct manner. Yes, Jess?
Sorry, I just wanted to ask if, when you come to a crisis situation, is it better to try to do more of closed questions up front first? Or open to say, what's happening, or, which is the better way to go?
Yeah, your first assessment is going to be how critical the situation is. So to give you an example, I used to be a rescue scuba diver years ago when I was fitter. So we get trained and they actually have a man literally running at you in full scuba gear who's ran out of the water. And the scenario role play is done in real life. And what they're doing is they're actually coming at you as if they have lost their mind. They've lost their buddy. The buddy's down there in the water. Now, they're flipped out. They can't think straight. You're 100% direct questions. So every situation is going to be different, but something that is about critical life and you've got minutes, you're not mucking around. But I'll give you a couple of tips. If there's a legitimate crisis happening, car accident, there's something that you've got someone, what you do with the person, you've got to turn the person you need the information from to get their back to the crisis. They won't want to do that. They're going to turn their back on you and be pointing at the water, babbling, and you're losing seconds of life preservation. You've got to actually physically turn and hold the person towards you. And you're going, who? Male or female? What color suit? Where? And that's it. You're just getting facts. And it is so direct and you're firing it. They give you about 20 seconds and you've got to find out male, female, everything. So
would it be too direct if you said, I want you to look at me? Look at me.
No, yeah, you're actually going to look at me, talk to me, tell me. Yeah. So every situation is different. You're a support worker. You're not going to grab somebody's arm. So in that situation,
manic,
that's right.
I guess.
However, if that person is about to run back towards danger, you're going to have to decide if some light restraint is appropriate and say, do not run, and give direct instructions to preserve safety. So what we're mainly trying to train for is crisis situations that would happen in your workplace in a support day. And that's why we're looking for more like self-harm, suicide ideation. We're looking for drug use. But this is all good to know of how to approach in a crisis situation as we are preparing if there is an accident, car accident. It might be quite a serious accident that happens in that home that you're in. So what you've got to do, if you want to calm somebody down, turn their back to the crisis and give them direct eye contact and step very close. And if you take control of your delivery of the questions, they actually gets their brain back online and you'll get answers because of how direct you are. It actually engages their brain. So you've got to bring them out of shock, and direct questions will be a shock a way to go with anyone who's actually going into fight or flight and babbling. And you need to have face-to-face contact, nice and close. So has someone in your family ever threatened to hurt you? So this is assessing safety, is direct questions. How fast, and obviously you're going to then intermix these and not be always direct. You might then, if they tell you their answers, use validation and say, wow, that sounds really difficult for you. Would you like to tell me more? That's an open question. So generally speaking, the direct question is going to give you the facts. And then you're going to ask them a question of saying, and how has that been for you? and then let them pull out some feelings. So if you can flow between facts and feelings. A complex question is where you're trying to get two things at once. If you ask that first one, are you afraid of anyone at home? And if so, who? That's classified as a complex question, two parts. But that's a direct complex question. An example of that is if they've told you they're afraid, you might say, can you tell me how you feel about it and how long it's been going on for you? There's, again, a much softer, a bit of a direct question, but yeah, so they're mixed. You could mix them. So what we're looking at here is if we are looking at safety, you're going to act on safety issues with direct questions nearly always. It's the only way you can assess the risk of harm. You know, have you self-harmed? Where have you harmed yourself? How have you harmed yourself? When did you harm yourself? Who, what, when, how, and where, and why? That'll give you the case. So explore your own beliefs. What we're looking at there is, as a support worker, you've got to explore your own beliefs about any reluctance you've got around asking a direct question about suicide. I'm going to come back to the group. Does anyone feel reluctant about getting a direct question out to assess safety for preservation of life on self-harming or suicide? No, fabulous. So you feel from tonight's session and how important we've made it and how I've given you permission basically to say, please use direct questions. It's what's required. That's the tool of the job for that task. Pull it out. Pull out the facts, pull out the feelings, validate, support, reassure, and then do the loop again. Make sure you're doing that reassurance once they've given you some of those facts. You're not a hard-hitting detective. We are always doing a little bit of a loop to reassure the person that we are trusted and we can help them. So you can validate and say, that's really difficult for you. Know that I'm here to help you work through this. Could you tell me more about? Yeah. Not just assault them with questions, Daniel.
So I guess that conflict of interest comes in, like what we we're talking about earlier, like where you might want to go into that part of your brain that wants to really help, and you really need to think about how much you can help and whether that conflict of interest, like say, you might think, you know, they might want $7 for parking or something like that. But that's not something you should do. I mean, you could be like, well, I'll try and see if I can help you with that. But part of us would want to just go, oh, well, oh yeah, you know, like, you know, pull out your wallet and because you want to help, you know, but even just that could make someone step over the line of, well, that's a conflict of interest. Like, you know, it's that could be used against you. I guess really think hard about, how, you know, as much as you want to help, how could that, is it going to help? And it could be used against you. It could be you know, all sorts of things if you're not sticking to your protocol and your policies. It's
again,
easy to reach into that part of your soul that really wants to help.
Yeah, alleviate pain through any means is definitely very much a line we've got to always double check ourselves on. Trust me, it comes at you because you're human beings dealing with someone who's in a crisis, as you say, Daniel, might just be $6 for the cab ride home that's stressing them, and there is where we want to lean in and assist. What we've got to recommend is that the first word that you've got is the word support. Support is not where you offer to take over their dilemma. You're alongside them.
Yes.
And you are offering ideas and solutions, strategies and services.
Yep. But I mean, it could happen so easily.
Very easily. It happens a lot. Happens a lot. Yep. I've had to report other support workers who want to make the shift really fun for some people who are alcoholics and stuff, and they invite them to their place in the pool and they get on the vodka. Don't ask me for stories. It's shocking. Rani?
Yeah, just on the back of what Daniel said, I think that that sort of comes into that professional boundary that you need to uphold, I guess, especially with clients potentially asking for money and things like that. You don't want to do anything that's going to cause potential risks. So yeah, I guess that's all I've got to say.
Yeah, no, thank you, Ronnie, that you've really
conflict of interest. That's the conflict of interest.
Yeah. The other thing that we're doing is we're taking over their independence and empowerment by actually solving a problem for them. We're assisting them solve their problem. Big difference. So what we've got to do now is just finish these slides for you, and then we will get back on. So what we've got here is, this is your question 14 is about the impacts of a crisis. In one of the questions in that section, because there's a few of them, is how crisis situations can impact a worker. So just have some thought about this. Obviously, there's vicarious trauma, which means that we're affected in a way of trauma by being around someone in a traumatic experience. You know how they say that I'm going to live vicariously through you while you're on holidays, and I'm going to look at all your Facebook pages, and I'm going to get your joy secondhand. We can also get secondhand trauma, and that is being exposed. So that's why also with your role play, please do not get all your family and friends to go right into the role of Denise and be shaking and stressing. There's another reason I made that role play of me shooting it out from a professional of what I need to hear you say, and making the role of the person playing in the crisis very little. Make sure you minimize your role play buddies' words, please. I don't want them to embody Denise or any of these crisis role plays. We're going to just chat about why debriefing is so important and how groups can actually be beneficial. The other question there that they ask, so just start putting some thought to this, and we'll do it as a group. Get your pen out, guys, and we'll smash out question 14. Identify 3 things you can do to minimize the stress response for yourself, excluding debriefing on top of. So we're going to look at what impact it can have, why debriefing, why group, and what else other than debriefing. So let's quickly, you can go off mic or you can even put it in chat. Let's answer this question together, guys. Chat is back on. What could happen, and then you can pluck everyone's answers. What could happen for you as a worker exposed to crisis and trauma? Give us some answers. What's the potential risks for you? Maybe you could actually create insomnia because you have racing thoughts. What things, because this is about identifying and responding to crises, and we need to actually make sure it's not your crisis that you're having happen for you as a worker, as a byproduct. And again, Rani, you mentioned that, and Daniel, when we get involved with personal assistance, we actually are closer to the trauma, and we can actually pick up a lot more because it becomes our issue. So what have we got here, guys? How are we going with the chat? Yes, you can absolutely get triggered from the past. Yep. Yes, thank you for the emotional draining. You'll be surprised how challenging it can be to be around someone who's not regulated. You're hypervigilant. You're really, really hypervigilant. So now let's throw in some answers and get some. Why is debriefing good? Throw it in. And then you can share all your other notes. Why is group debriefing even better? The more the merrier. Maybe more people have more solutions, more strategies. So start typing away, everybody, because I don't want anybody to sit back. Karianu, start typing. Hands over here. Come on, I can't see your name. I need everybody to contribute. Don't laugh at me. I'm serious. Chat's on for you to put in why is debriefing good and why is group debriefing better. I'm mumbling a lot tonight. Different perspectives, absolutely. Yeah. Maybe you've got more people to also give you more validation, more understanding. What strategies are you going to use other than debriefing and group debriefing? Are you going to do one-on-one supervision with your supervisor? Are you going to call Lifeline? What else are you going to do to keep yourself in check? Anyone got any ideas? Physical exertion is really important when we're dealing with trauma, because what we're dealing with is a flood of chemicals and an onslaught. So if you can, great, talk therapy is amazing, but if you can walk and talk, even better. You've got to be able to discharge the chemicals that have been flooding into your bloodstream. Fantastic, guys. So here's some self-care strategies that I put together for you, a bit of a trainer toolbox. And just for fun, I started them with S, just to show you that you can actually really go a long way with ideas. Whether you want to just take a moment and switch off your phone. Yep. Stress out, punch a pillow, get some physical exertion out. Swing away your stress. You've got no idea about how many times I've been on the seesaw with my clients. I also used to bring punching bags, and we'd bring basketballs and just shoot some hoops and pound that pavement. So I was mostly with CPTSD, so that's long standing. So we've got to get out in nature and get physical a lot. So again, spend some time in sunshine, sand activity. We were always at the beach with the dogs because there was shoes off and sand. You'll be surprised how good sand could be. These are just ideas for you, but they're ideas for you to actually help with regulation for your clients. Yep. Now that spiritual connection may not be to a church or a faith. It could just be to nature. If someone might actually get a lot of joy from being out in the surf, it might be very soulful for them. So by spiritual, you're just saying soulful. So where we're at now is light bulb moment. So we're finishing off the night. But before I jump back to do that, I've got a quote for you to finish. Treasure the power you have to influence other people positively. It's the greatest power you'll ever have. So now we're coming back to light bulb moments to see any epiphanies, any new information, any new ideas, any new slants, any new respect for people who are struggling. What'd you get out of tonight, guys? Anything? Jess?
Yeah, I didn't realize how many situations could actually be a crisis situation. I feel like I've probably been a part of a lot of crisis situations with other people and within my own life, and probably haven't really noticed it as a crisis. That makes sense.
Yes. So you saw indicators, but didn't realize that they actually would fall under the umbrella of a crisis. Yeah.
Yes, I probably wouldn't have labelled it a crisis. But yeah, so it's good now to have a better understanding.
Well done. Barney?
Yeah, just on the back of what Jess said, I feel like the same with me. Like, you know, I feel like majority of society really only see certain, you know, traumatic events or certain events in general that are classed as a crisis. You know, whether it be natural or, you know, sexual assault or you know, the big ones. I guess you could say you don't actually sit back and think about what we've discussed tonight. In a way, you just that's been pretty handy to learn, I guess.
Yeah, because I think also sometimes for some people we can downplay how distressing financial crisis is. And at the moment, financial crisis counselling is coming up big time because of the cost of living.
Yeah.
But we know a financial crisis which happened in a catastrophic time was when we had the big crashes and we have the big Wall Street crashes. People would leap out of buildings.
Yeah, and it's a bit like that the computer outage that we had the other week. You know, that sent the world into a frenzy, sort of thing. You know, just things like that. You don't. Yeah. It's
Well, you
interesting.
look at even what would have been classified with COVID as a crisis. People were punching each other up because they were losing their minds over toilet paper.
Yeah.
So, like, what we determine is a crisis for one person, but basically what we've got to recognize, any form of crisis is a loss of control.
Yeah, right. Okay.
That's it. To varying degrees in different ways for different people. But that's what it is. It's a loss of control. Now, when you've got someone who is flipping a lid and they're in stress, what we've got to do is look at giving them control back. Now, what we've got to try and assess very quickly is what resource they've just lost. So financial is someone who doesn't have the resources of money to pay their home loan. Another type of resource loss that can be stress is not having patience for your child. So your best question to ask someone is, what do you need right now? They'll tell you what it is. Money, patience. Yeah. What do you need from me right now that I can help you get that? How can I support you to get that need met? So there's always a resource that we're generally missing when we get stressed. I don't know about you, but I like to be on time, and I take myself through being stressed by running late. It's no big deal, but for me, the resource I feel like I'm missing is I don't have enough time. Well, that's just that. So it can be very simple, but basically, whether it's very simple or catastrophic, it's the same formula. The person has become stressed because they don't feel they've got the resources they need to meet the task ahead. Being able to be patient for their baby, pay their money, whatever it is. So you've got to ask, what do you need right now? What do you need from me right now? Alana?
Actually, this course is like I'm traveling my brain in my childhood.
Oh.
Because my parents were separated. And then it's a lot that I had been through. Like, I mean, my parents were separated, and also my father abandoned me and my sibling. And yeah, and a lot of like financial.
Yeah.
And we had no support. And we were being abandoned, and we were being thrown into a different family who were ever had the mercy on us. And also we being treated like slaves. And yeah, it's this unit is so overwhelming.
You might
Really.
stay behind with me, Miss Alana. We'll have a little chat, okay?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Karen.
Yeah. Because what's happening generally is that someone often feels isolated as well. So clearly what Alana's saying there is that what was missing was a support network. You can, when I say that, just respect the value of contribution to affect someone's life positively. If you head in with that support, it is going to be a balm. So when they lose support, they can lose control. Jess?
I just wanted to sort of follow up from COVID. I'm a learning support officer at a school, and I work with primary school kids. And I feel since COVID, the coping and the stress that the kids just don't understand things as quick as they would like to, and the stress and the anxiety that the amount of children have now, because it's probably been fed to off their parents, off the stress that the parents might have had during COVID. And now they're back at school, and the kids are there's a lot of kids struggling, because I feel like they the same thing, they're not understanding things, and because they don't understand the frustration, the stress, they get down on themselves. And yeah, it's really sort of sad to see. So I feel like you're constantly comforting and trying to get these kids to understand it's okay. Like,
and that situation can be processed for a child every day at school. And what we've got to recognise is what you're saying, Jess, is that they don't feel they have the intelligence for the task.
Yes.
There's the resource that's missing, knowledge, smarts, the answer. There's something they're missing. There's always something missing. And so what we've got is a stress response with dysregulation.
Yes. Yeah. And then kids that are sick all the time because they worry themselves sick over work.
And that's
not having the understanding and the knowledge
and that's
to be able to do the work.
Yeah, looking for is the indicators of how this stress would show up. Not eating properly, loss of weight would come. And so what we're looking for, and that's where we're trying to recognise first, which you'd probably be doing a lot of, Jess, is looking for those indicators of someone who needs support. Daniel?
Yeah, I guess, it's getting towards the end of the class. I don't know. I put my hand up because, there's a lot there that...
So what we might do is stop the recording then, and that way we can speak more freely. Basically, there's been a big light bulb on to everybody about how important it is for us to have our own self-care as well, because we're going to deal with a lot, well, you do deal with a lot as a worker. Keeping that boundary is your protection of not getting personally involved is really, that's come up tonight a lot. Okay, bye, Mel. And I'll stop the recording. I hope it's been a really informative session. Thanks everyone for contributing, and good luck with everyone who wants to make a video. I'll just make sure that you know that your video must have another person in it. Okay.